All right, everybody, here we are again. Can y'all believe it, for another episode of the Relentlessly Becoming podcast? It is crazy to be here, but I thank God for the opportunity. And today we have an amazing, long overdue conversation to have. Did you know that less than 2% of doctoral degree holders, according to ResearchGate, because we are scholars in here, according to ResearchGate, in 2022, less than 2% of doctoral holders were Black men? Well, I have two individuals who make up that 2% in the studio with me today, and I am excited to talk about representation in education, being a Black man and having those views of what it's like to be in education and really represent. Because when I thought back when crafting this episode on the impact and the influence of all of those in my life on my educational journey, I thought about the few and far between Black men that I got to really bump and brush shoulders with that really influenced me to be who I am today. And so this episode is an ode to those men. And I am honored to sit here and talk to two men who have been through the struggle of not only coming and being in education, but becoming doctors, the highest degree that you can receive in this nation, in the world. And so stay tuned for some really amazing conversation. I cannot wait for us to get smarter together. I'll see y'all soon. Opportunity, emotion, grit, relentlessness. Cling to the sound of my voice and understand that what you want wants you. What you need needs you. And you are relentlessly becoming relentlessly better. Welcome to the Relentlessly Becoming podcast. Let's go. All right. Well, let's get into some conversation on today. I am honored to have here on the couch with me down at the Relentlessly Becoming podcast, my brothers, Dr. Nicholas Harris and Dr. Bobby L. Banks. I am in awe to be in the presence of both of these brilliant young Black men at the same time. How fortunate am I to know these guys? It is absolutely phenomenal to have y'all here with me today.
What's up, bro? Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm doing great, man.
Yeah, everything's good, man. It's an honor to be here.
Thank y'all. I knew them before they were doctors, and we formed brotherly relationships at two separate times. So Nick is my orientation leader roommate. We were in Men of Excellence at Mississippi State together, but then we became roommates when we were both orientation leaders at the same time. And all I'm gonna say about that is Nick kept me out of trouble. I was the problem child. There were already only 3 Black men on our team that year. I think we had
a total of 4 Black people.
4 Black people in total. Team, 3 Black guys, 1 Black female, and the team was made up of, was it 26 of us or 27? 23?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was only 4 Blacks, 3 of us were men, 1 woman. Shout out to Fifi. And Nick was my roommate, and he kept me out of trouble and not with an attitude for most of the summer. And so I thank him, and that's where we built our brotherly bond. And then Bobby and I met when we were seeking our diamond together, moving towards being Diggs kids. Yeah. We connected, and thank God for Kappa Alpha Psi. Yes. We are both, on that side of an amazing mountain. As you see, Nick has that Alpha shirt on, but that's another story for another day.
This is exactly why I wore the shirt.
Sitting in the middle of 2 noobs. Thank God for Kappa Alpha Psi. And so Bobby and I connected years ago as we were seeking our diamond, and God gave us the favor to both complete the mission of getting that and becoming men of Kappa Alpha Psi. And so we've just been connected ever since, and I'm grateful to have these guys on my couch. So let's get into some conversation on today. So I want to jump right in and just start the conversation by allowing both of you to introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your upbringing, kind of what influences your decision making that you learned in your younger days, and how has that impacted you?
Got you. Well, as Ray said, Dr. Nicholas Harris, from Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised. I'm a first generation college graduate, the first in my family to graduate undergrad and go through and get a master's degree, and the one of two in my family to have a doctoral degree. I have a cousin that has a Juris Doctorate. Raised by a single mother. I lost my mom, unfortunately, at the age of 13, and was raised by my grandmother. From then on out, had a lot of positive, family and family friends to be in my life. And both my mom and my dad is very, very much in my life, and very active, have always prioritized education. And that is always it was never a question of would I graduate from college. It was the question was always where. And then from then on out, God has just been he's always been in my life, but definitely shown me to go on and get more, and that it was possible with putting so many different influences in my life. And so that has led me to go on and get a master's. And this past May, just graduated with my doctoral degree, and yeah, definitely give glory to God for that, and all the things that he's done in my life. But that's just a quick snippet of me and who I am.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank God for it. What about you, Dr. Banks?
I'm Bobby Banks. I am one of a product of Port Gibson, Mississippi, Claiborne County. I went into education at an early age, probably like 18. I started out as an assistant teacher as I was going through college, Alcorn State University, and of course from there I got my teaching cert, and I taught for 3 years. I already knew that I wanted to be a principal. I already knew that I wanted to be an administrator, and so from there, after those 3 years, I saw things that could have been, and so. From there, of course, I went to Mississippi College and got my master's in educational leadership. Then I went to Columbus Municipal School District in Columbus, Mississippi, where I worked as an assistant principal. Columbus, shout out to you, the friendly city.
That's what we need. We're down in Columbus.
Yep. So I did that, and of course, went back to my hometown, Claiborne County. I worked as a director of student support services there, and also the compliance officer for the district. Then Vicksburg Warren School District called me and they said, "Hey man, you want to come work?" They stole me from Claiborne County. And so I really impacted lives there because I worked as a alternative school administrator, principal of the alternative school, Fresh Start Academy and Tiger Academy, along with the juvenile detention center administrator, serving students in the juvenile detention center in the educational sector. Along with supporting our district counselors in Vicksburg Warren School District. So I was the liaison for the district between the counselors and the district. And from there, of course, I loved alternative school. I really loved doing that. But from there, I relocated here to Dallas, Texas, where I am now. For 3 years now, I've been assistant principal of Duncanville High School. One of the largest minority high schools in the state of Texas, and also I would say in the nation.
Yeah.
And so I really love our students here at Duncanville. I love the work that I get to do, and I'm very proud to be a part of this, to share my experiences with you all.
Can we take a moment to honor the parents
Yes.
who do a lot of work in those beginning stages? Because I hear a lot of people say it's also the parents' job to help the child get to where they need to get to in education. And I firmly believe that. And I am grateful that my mom was there and my dad as well. So I grew up with both of my parents, and whether they agreed on a lot of things or disagreed, our grades was never something they were not on the same page about. My parents were always big on you're going to college, like you're going to get a degree, you're going to do good in high school, you're going to do good in middle school. And I remember when I was 10th grade, my mom made us switch schools. Her and my dad decided we were going to go from the school we were in my hometown to a school maybe 15 or 20 minutes away. And I hated it. Did not want to go there. And every morning we would drive to school that first year. My mom would make us say this chant, "If it is to be, it's up to me." I hated saying it too, but I knew if I didn't say it, it's going to be a problem. And so, even though I didn't want to be at that school and I missed my friends and my comfort zone, in a way, I do know that it's because I went to Cleveland High School that the trajectory of my life is where it is. Not saying I couldn't have got there had I stayed where I was, because I believe I would have been fine, just me. But I know that I was just exposed to so much more.
Yeah.
And that was because my parents had a mission for their children to be able to attain certain things that they didn't get to attain when they were our age. And so shout out to the parents for bringing your kids up right and getting that influence at home. We thank y'all.
Yes.
And so we talked about, you talked about, the question wasn't where you going to college, it was where. And you talked about, your mom being on you and knowing you had to get to a certain place. When you first went off to college, what was your desire? Did you go to college saying, I'm going to be an educator, or was it something else? Because I got a whole different story from what I'm doing now.
I can go first out. Of course, that was my mission. Because I'm from a rural area, that's all we saw. We saw teachers, and we saw that that was the professional standard. And so going to college, I already knew that I was going to be an educator. I knew I was going to be a principal. I knew I was going to get my doctorate. I already had this, mapped out in my head. But of course, life does throw curveballs or whatever. So when I got to college, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know if I really want to do this. But then I start changing things around. But then I had people, still in my ear saying, hey, remember your mission, remember your vision, remember, what your purpose is. And then I also got an opportunity to work in a school while I was going to college. And so that really reared me back to where, my mission was. And so,
yeah.
For me, quite the opposite. I went to college for communications. I thought I would do something with public relations or mass media, and I was involved in a lot of opportunities. In undergrad, I was part of the Montgomery Leadership Program, where it's a 3-semester leadership program, and you had to do community service, and you had to pick your site. And I always picked K-12, and Cameron Wilder, who was over the program at the time, she said she was one of the first people to tell me that I feel like you should work in K-12. You should work with students. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But I was also super involved in undergrad, and I had a lot of advisors and mentors on campus that told me I should go into higher education or student affairs. And I was like, that's a lot more fun working with college students. And I was telling Dr. Banks before we got started, it was during the pandemic where I made that switch to K-12. And by then I'd already had my master's. And so working in the system and just realizing all the changes that need to be made, and all of the inequities that exist that impact, kids that look like us the most. In order to make that change, like, you need to have that experience as well as that degree. And it was then that I decided that, okay, I'm going to be that person that's going to have that experience and that degree, that as I ascend higher up, I can pull people up with me, but also be in a position to make more impact.
Absolutely. And for me, when I went to Mississippi State, I changed my major 6 times. Wow. That's just being, so I went and it was going to be something with engineering. I would never forget. I went on the first day of class to one of the computer engineering classes I had freshman year, and I got the syllabus. I got up and said I was going to the restroom. I never went back. Seriously. We were in class maybe 15, 20 minutes. He gave me that syllabus. I read through it. I said, I'm running to the restroom. I didn't go back. I dropped that class during the ad drop period. So I went from computer engineering, computer science, business administration, marketing, undeclared communication. But that was because there was so much gray area in between choosing what was best for me. Because again, I told you both of my parents were very involved, and they were adamant on, you need to get a degree in something that's going to make you some money. And I always knew I wanted to do communications, but my parents didn't know. They was like, you ain't gonna get no good job with that or whatever. And they didn't know. They knew, but they didn't know, but they knew who they raised. You must have forgot who you birthed, because I'm not regular. Oh, God's gonna touch me to get me somewhere. The way I talk, but it was just really. I'm grateful that happened too, because I had to learn to come into my own as I sift through the doctrine that my parents give me, and then the doctrine that I adopt on my own.
Mm-hmm.
It was really important for me as I transitioned from high schooler to college student, young man, for me to be able to decide this is the right path for me. And immediately when I declared communications, I knew that that was exactly where I needed to be and where I wish I would have been. And so I got into communication. And although I'm not a K through 12 educator, I train for leadership with students, with those who I mentor. And a lot of that derives from the experiences that we got at Mississippi State. I thank God that I was able to go to Mississippi State, a school that has so many resources and people who cared about us. You know, Dr. Hyatt, Miss Rashida, you know, Mr. Tim, Mr. Blue, we'll talk about them in a little later as we go on and talk about influence, but just being able to be in all of those programs and, you know, be a student leader and get that mentorship and that training to be able to give to others is something that I think was extremely important. And so plans changed, but hey, we stuck with it. Shout out to Bobby though, who knew what he was going to do.
and
we honor you for
that.
that. We honor you for making a plan and writing it down, making it plain and sticking to it. Keep influencing us to be that way, brother, because I am still to this day not that way. So when you chose education and you decided that this is the path that I'm going to be on, what would you say you wanted your end goal and results to be, and you're still working towards it? Does that evolve? Does it change? But when you think about kind of that totality of the view, what is it that you really want to do?
So I'm gonna be honest. When I first started working in education, I was in higher education, so working on college campus. So what I thought my end goal would be when I first got my master's and was working on it is completely different to right now. I will say one thing that has always remained for me is representation. I want to be able to be in a place where people see me and know that I look like them and I talk like them and that I truly represent them as well too, because that's definitely needed in both sides of education. And so I knew that I always wanted to do that, but I didn't know exactly what that looked like. But when I think about most of my experiences working in education, it's been always wanting to make a difference for young people that look like me, especially for young Black boys, especially after I've learned more about working in education and all the different things that other Black boys go through that I necessarily didn't go through when I was a student.
Yeah. So for me, it's superintendent, and I think that, you know, I'm working towards that. I understand that there are different channels and, you know, different experiences like you shared before that you have to go through in order to be able to speak to certain challenges, you know, in that seat and help people. I feel like the superintendency gives you the opportunity to not just build in the classroom with students, but also really and truly vest in families and communities to make sure, you know, you build a better community for whatever, you know, school district that you're supporting.
Shout out to them dreaming. Get me out to y'all schools and with y'all students. You know, I'll come do a pro bono one. I give you one,
just
one pro bono speaking engagement, just because I enjoy doing it, and I always try to find those opportunities where I could give back. So I would love to come and speak to your classes and your schools, students, just as an opportunity to pour into them. And I don't think many people know this about me, but I actually wanted to be a college president. So when I went to get my master's, I told you that. Yeah, when I was getting ready to go to grad school, we were roommates, and I wanted to be a college president. So I was going to go into higher education, and I had 2 meetings: one with Miss Rashida, one with Dr. Hyatt. And so I went to lunch with Dr. Hyatt at the beginning of the week. I went to lunch with Ms. Rashida at the end of the week and talked to them both about what I wanted to do. And they both gave me 2 separate answers. But I ended up going with what Ms. Rashida recommended because it was the same thing that Tim did. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I can do this because I was in between majoring in higher education and public policy. Yeah. And Dr. Hyatt was like, you know, you want to do this, go into higher education, you're going to get all those facets of learning. And Ms. Rashida was like, that is true. But if you get the public policy, you open up a whole big world of stuff. And so I went with that. And even after I graduated with my master's, I got into Howard for their PhD program. higher education leadership and policy studies that specifically focuses on HBCU presidency. I got into FAMU. I got into University of Alabama, Nova Southeastern, a couple of schools.
Yeah.
I got into almost every school I applied to except maybe 3.
Yeah.
And decided I was going to take a job and make some money and not go back to school right then, because I got a job offer from Packard too. And so I said, you know what? I'm tired of being broke. You know, these people offer me some good money. I'm 23 years old making this amount of money. Like, I'm making the same amount of money as my parents. I'm doing something. And so I decided that I wasn't, but I think that God had a plan and still uses me in a different way to give people education and things like that. And so we talk about impact, influence, representation, having those conversations. Who are your trusted factors that you go to whenever, you need doctoring or you need, that help? And how do you seek these individuals out? Which is what I want the viewers to know. So there could be somebody who's looking to say, hey, I really need a mentor. I really need to talk to somebody about what it is that I'm trying to do and use them as a sounding board, but I don't know where to begin. How would you encourage and influence them to begin those conversations and seek those individuals out?
Right. And so I think that just kind of goes with your circle, like knowing who values the same thing that you value, matching that up with the people that you surround yourself around. For me personally, it's been my fraternity brothers, it's been my family, and it's also been some coworkers and schoolmates. I can remember going through my master's program at Mississippi College, and I had a brother named Terrence Green, and he and I went through the program together. We took our administration cert test together, and we just been kind of just basically holding each other accountable, even through my my specialist degree at William Carey University, and even in the doctorate program. He left me when I went to the doctorate program, but he's at Jackson State. Boo Jackson State. Boo Jackson
all coin in the house. All coin in the house.
Yeah. So, but it just, you just have to find those people who value the same thing, but also has the same purpose, and then has also gone through some of those same experiences that you're going through. And so, for me, it's my fraternity brothers, it's my family, it's some of my coworkers as well. But yes, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So he actually stole my answers. So the whole time he was going, I was like, man, what could I say to add? I would say knowing your why and knowing you. And I feel like a lot of people don't know their why or even themselves and what they really want to do. Because when you know that, and then you have great fraternity friends or coworkers or family members or who are mentors to be able to help affirm that or to serve as great thought partners, it makes it a lot easier. And so it's my hope that you do have that. And just like Dr. Banks shared, those have been really great influences in my life. But to add to that is because I've always known who I am and whose I am, and what I should be doing. And there's times where you get a little weary or you wonder, okay, what is the next step? But when you have these conversations with those trusted circles, it helps affirm and helps redirect where you should go. And I would say that's been a big part of my success.
Absolutely. I love that. Both of those responses just coincide with each other and are super important. And so when you think about that, are there any individuals who to you gave you that extra rearing and pouring? So like for me, I immediately think of Dr. Timothy Fair and Mr. John Blue. Going to college and having these men as our advisors and mocks, being there for us to talk through educational plights, personal plights. Here's what I'm facing. Here's what I need. Mr. Blue would call me in his office and get me together. Like, hey, you're doing a little bit too much. And because I know I can go over the edge. Hey, I need you to bring it back a little bit. And then I would be like, you know what? If Mr. Blue is getting on to me, he's right. Because he doesn't even have a deposition to get on to his students unless he really sees your potential and is like, hey, I don't want you to do something to mess your future up. And so when I think about the people who had the impact on me, it would be them. But then even in K through 12, teachers like, Mr. Jeff Brown, who I'll never forget him. He came when I was fifth grade, and we learned all about his Jamaican heritage. And, he had so many creative ways of just influencing his students. And I always respect and appreciate him being that presence in our life and taking us places after school. And so when you think of people who have poured into you, are there any people that stand out, especially Black men that stand out, who maybe gave you those tools to be who you are today?
Yeah, so that's a great question. For me, there's a lot. Because
You got so many people.
I do, and I'm truly grateful for that. But I also feel like God has always had someone to come into my life, or for me to lean closer to in each stage that I've been in.
Mhm.
I would say some of the oldest influences, especially Black men, would be Mr. Taylor from middle school and high school, as well as Dr. Lowe. He was my middle school principal. He's someone that I reach out to with even working on my doctorate and working in education. I was interviewing for my last job, my current job that I have now, and it's work that he does back in Memphis. And I reached out to him, and he gave me like the whole blueprint to like go in and like knock out the interview. So those are definitely great influences. It's been really great meeting different fraternity brothers who do education work. One of them is Dr. Gregory Hutchins, who works for Howard University in their education department. I want to say he's a program coordinator, but he also has his education consulting. Former superintendent as well, and so being able to reach out to someone that is years ahead of me in experience of life as far as education, being a family man. Yeah, he's married with kids. Like it's been really cool leaning onto those different influences, because I'm able to see someone that looks like me, that is doing things that I want to do or could be doing. And when I reach out, they always respond and give me great advice and just really great direction.
Got this.
So for me, I would say it's my uncle, Ray Coleman. Growing up, I'm a singer, but don't tell everybody. So I've been always musically inclined, and our family has been musically inclined, and so I play keys as well. But growing up, he had a level of accountability that he held us to. I didn't have my dad, of course. He was in prison, but it was a level of accountability for our family. When he came around, it was like, why, what are you supposed to be doing? Even in school, the teachers knew to just call him because he was also our pastor. And so I think that for me, it really has been his influence, to know that it's the word that keeps us grounded as God, to make sure that we, we're following what God says and what his plan is for our lives, and making sure that our lives mimic what the Bible says. And so him, as far as personal life, professional, it's been the late Dr. Annie Gilcrease. She was my former principal in elementary school, and then she became superintendent. And I just kind of watched her, throughout my high school career, and then moved into as soon as I left high school, actually, I went back to work as a teacher assistant, but I was also going to Alcorn State University. Shout out to the Braves. So yeah, I was she gave me the platform and really gave me an opportunity to see what life could be, not just for myself but for others as well, because when we talk about education, it's really a service. And so I feel like that she was a big influence in who I am today. As I matriculated throughout my career, in my master's program, I had teachers at Mississippi College who really and truly not only taught me the way as far as education, but also put a biblical and a religious standpoint on why we do what we do, and just really poured into me. And they were former superintendents of Clinton Public School District, former superintendents of associate superintendents of the state of Mississippi, and so I really had a lot of different people who just kind of took my hand in every step to show me the way. And so I'm very grateful, for that, being that I come from a rural area.
Yeah, we thank God for those villages of people who really call us out and call us in and give us those tools that we could use. And as we grow as men and as people who educate others, we use those to build others. And so how do you take what you have been given and give to your students? What are some things that you do to ensure that you're able to give them some of those same tools that you were given?
Man, I really love that question because that's my ultimate why, is to show students that you can do it. And just being real. I feel I'm where I'm at today because I've had so many people be real with me, so many teachers, mentors, family members, and I'm that with students. Like, if I'm working with a student and they struggling, like, we gonna have a real conversation. And I'm a person that, accountability is really big for me. And that's something I feel like is really missing within K-12 education. Students aren't held as accountable as they could be. Same for parents as well. And so I'm a person that definitely try my best to hold students accountable as possible, but to also show them what a positive role model look like, because I want them to be successful. And the biggest way I do that is just by showing up, being me, being who I am, but also just being consistent with them as well too, because you can't be hard on them today and then easy on them tomorrow, or showing up for them this week and the next week you MIA. And so I would say those are the key ways that I show up for my students.
Sure.
Pretty much the same. I think it's important with consistency, accountability, and just knowing that they can come to me about anything, just being there for them, because a lot of conversations students are afraid to have with people who are not, who they don't relate to. And so being relatable, I think that's one of the biggest things that I try my best to do at my work and at my job, in my work. So I think that's really important when we're in the K-12 sector. I feel like that as far as why I do what I do is because of the service, and what God has called me to do. He's placed us on this earth to do. I would challenge anybody to really just find out what your why is if you haven't already, because that's really what gets me up to do what I do every day and be for our students what I am for kids.
And Ray, if you don't mind, I have one thing I want to add that to what myself is, that what I've said so far, as well as Dr. Banks. Working in education and learning more about education, like the system and the policy, it is not set up for Black and brown folks to truly be successful. And I've always been somebody that could see gaps, but learning more about these gaps and even being in the education system, like, a big part of my why is to break that system. And the way I go about it with working with students and their families, and now I'm at the central office of working with staff, like, I'm trying to break generational curses and break those systems and do what I can to make as much change as possible, because I don't want the focus to always be like how are we impacting students? I just want them to be impacted. And that comes from wanting to break things that do hold students back, as well as their families.
Yeah, and that looks different. It looks different for every child. When we talk about, what they need, sometimes, when we talk about accountability and the standard, it's different for every child and especially our students, because, the bar is high, but they start so low. They start with nothing sometimes, and so it's just, I thank you for that, that work that you're doing, because that's important. Our students, the standard, I don't want to say that the standard is too high for them, but at the same time, they're not provided the resources that they need in order to meet the standard most of the time.
Yeah. And I think that's the perfect segue into our next question, because doing work like that, the work that matters, the work that really impacts and influences, it's amazing work, but it could be daunting as well. How do y'all navigate burnout and getting through those seasons that you feel burned out in your work?
Yeah. So for me, it's just being around my family, being around my friends, fraternity brothers, just, laughing and, having fun or whatever. But also understanding, at the end of the day, God don't put more on us than we can bear. And so just doing what you can do, in the work. That's just really it. I challenge my teachers to understand the work and life balance, and, schedule, plan, all of that stuff to make sure that you also plan for yourself. Put time in your schedule for what you have to do for your people and what you have to do to make sure you're taking care of home and so on and so forth. So that's how I do it. I really try my best to plan accordingly and just stick to the plan, even for my personal life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's not much I would add different to what Dr. Banks just shared. Definitely practicing self-care. I'm someone that's really big on that. Love what I do, but when I leave work on Friday or if it's a holiday weekend, I am turning off my email. I am doing what I can when I can on the clock, but when I'm off the clock, especially traveling, look, it'll be there when I get back. But I would say for me, working in education, while it can be very daunting, it's definitely a calling. Mm-hmm. And when you are living in your calling and living in your purpose, God equips you to be able to handle it.
He does.
And so while it may be tough for some folks, it's not as tough for me because I'm doing what he's called me to do, which means that he's given me the strength to do it. He's given me the grace to do it. And he's given me the ability to be able to navigate it. And so I don't see it as so much as a struggle. And then we're working with students, their families, but also working with staff. Like when you see people smile or you're able to help them out, like that's very rewarding, and that helps gives me more strength to be able to carry on. Absolutely. So yeah.
I strongly agree with that. I think that especially when we look at careers and individuals who are trying to figure out what it is that they want to do or if they're in the right place. Whenever I pray, I always tell God that if I wake up tired and empty, but still full, then I have done what I needed to do and I'm in the right place. And that's what I want to encourage people to feel from their careers and the things that they invest their time in. If you are tired and empty, yet still full and ready for tomorrow, then you are walking in the thing that you have been called to do because you know that your strength is going to be replenished because you are in the place that you need to be in. Yeah. I look at people and they go and they hate their work. Yeah. And I hate that for them because I desire for everybody to facet and bask in things that they love. And even though every day ain't a good day for me when I go to work, what I do still gives me that fire. Yeah. When I know that I could look back and I influenced and I impacted somebody's life. And I think that as we seek out opportunities and resources for careers and we're looking at things that we want to do and we want to get ourselves involved in, if it still gives you that little bit of spark, that means it's still some fire there, which means you still have the opportunity to impact and burn through every gap, every discrepancy, every challenge, every obstacle with that little. All it takes is a little piece of fire for a big flame to sprout up and change somebody's life. And so when I think about what it is that I could give people, because I do career coaching and mentoring as well, and when I think about what it is that I could give people as sound doctrine and words of encouragement, when they're looking to go to their next level, follow the flame. Yeah. Follow the flame. Follow that spark. Even if you don't have a lot, you don't need a lot of fire. You don't need a lot of fire. You just need a little bit of a spark. If you feel a spark there, follow that. Follow that little flame. Because think about it. All it takes when you have a lighter, it's not a big boom. It's not like a barbecue grill. A lighter is a little bit of a flame. But you put it to something and you can burn a whole building down. You could start a forest fire. Yeah. It don't take but a little bit. Yeah. Follow the flame is what I want to say. But that's really good. And so we talked about navigating burnout. Now we get into the part where y'all doctors. Y'all got doctors.
Crazy. I'm still
ain't God good?
I'm still getting used to it.
God is good. Y'all doctors. 2%.
Yeah.
of doctoral degree holders, according to ResearchGate, because we are scholars. We got to put that in there. Hello, because my best friend is a doctor as well, and he's very much, where did you get your research? So I know y'all, I'm sitting on the couch with doctor. I got to put that out there. 2% are doctoral holders, and y'all are in that 2%.
Yeah.
How amazing is that? Young, you're young Black men from Mississippi and Memphis.
Yeah.
Doctoral degree holders. I honor y'all.
Thanks,
Like,
bro.
that is absolutely amazing.
I appreciate it, man.
And it's a journey. What was that process like as you look back? Because Bobby, you've had yours for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, you're kind of still fresh to the fold by a couple of months.
Still
You know, when you think back on that process, what does that look like? And I remember you were in College Station and came to stay for the weekend, and you would be here on weekends until you relocated to the area. This is how much persistence you have. And that's why you can't let nobody tell you that your dream is crazy and that what you want to attain is crazy. And that if you have a specific place that you want to get this thing from, and there's a specific calling for you, but you ain't in that area yet, figure it out and don't listen to the naysayers. Don't let them encourage you and influence you to go somewhere else because it's easy and convenient. We're not doing easy in this season. We're doing excellent. And by doing excellent, that means you have to be willing to do the things that nobody else is willing to do. You can't listen to the negative chatter and the negative voices. You got to go with your gut, and you got to get out there and pursue what it is that you want to pursue from the places and the spaces that you want to pursue them in. You would drive here.
Yeah.
From College Station, Texas to Dallas, not living here, to be in class.
Yeah.
That's good, bro.
Yeah.
Earned it because you knew what it is that you wanted.
Right. And I knew where I wanted to be. So my program is a hybrid intensive program where we have class over the weekend. And my first year in the program, as Ray said, I lived in College Station, Texas. I was working for Bryan Independent School District, and I would commute up for class, be in class all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and hop in the car and go back to College Station to be at work on Monday. And so I definitely knew that I could not sustain at the total duration of the program. So I was very intentional about job searching and relocating to Dallas for my second year. And so that was definitely helpful. What was the overall process like? Man, I grew so much closer to God because each semester was difficult and presented a challenge. And Q Harris, he's the young adult director at my church, which is Concord Church here in Dallas. And one of the key things that he said that has really stuck with me is that, you know, a lot of times we question God when he's always brought us through something. And I just kept seeing each semester he will always bring me through. So it's like after a while, it's like you don't have to wonder if you're going to make it, because you know you're going to make it because God is always going to bring you through, because he always has brought you through. I would say my biggest obstacle with my overall doctoral program is that the closer I got to getting done, the less energy I had. And I shared this in my graduation brunch, and you were there, Ray. I felt like after a while, you know, I was Fred Flintstone. I was pedaling with my feet, just trying to get done because you on the gas, and eventually the gas pedal's on the floor, and then after that you are on the road like pedaling with your feet. And that's just how I felt, because it was so much more needed to be done. But after a while, like, you start getting weary, no matter, and maybe I wasn't taking care of myself the way I should have, but after a while, I used to get a little tired, you know, with trying to balance all the things, being a student, finishing your research, having a personal life, having a full-time job, you know, balancing other endeavors that you are in. And so I would say that was my biggest obstacle, is that, you know, the closer you get to the finish line, you know, you think you see the finish line, but you're actually feeling like you're slowing down, or like sometimes that finish line is getting pushed back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was academic hazing.
He was in the cutting class.
No, seriously, man, it was really tough. But I really appreciate my professors. They really just held me to the fire. At one point, honestly, to be truthful, I withdrew myself, and I wanted to go back to what you talked about, the easy place. I wanted to go back to people that I knew at Mississippi College because William Carey was different. But I had people, in my ear, they were telling me, no, you need to make sure that you need to get through this. This is going to be good for you. Um, so my process was hard. It was really hard, especially working, as a teacher. I was working and making sure I can still give 100% to my students, still give 100% to my family. It was really hard to continue to give 100%, as we matriculated throughout the program. But of course, like I said, just having conversations with my professors and them just redirecting my thoughts and my mind, back to what the mission is. I think that was so important. If you are pursuing a doctorate, it's important to make sure that you have a good relationship with your chair and your people who are supporting you. Because if not, then you'll always find issues that you'll have to solve for yourself. Not saying that I didn't solve, many of my issues myself, but sometimes, you just need think partners.
Yeah.
And so it's important to know that person and know that, that they have your back, as opposed to just put you through a vicious circle of, issues or whatever. So, for me, like I said, it was hard. My grandmother passed as well within the process, and I just kind of stopped. And that's the moment in which I said I need to go back to the place in which I know, But of course, I moved forward and I moved past that, and yeah, man, it was good. And look at me now.
Yeah, look at you now, done.
It's kind of because I'm a selfless person, and I try my best not to throw it around. But a lot of people say no. And I'll tell you as well, if you're out there, you have a doctorate, make sure that people put respect on your name.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a matter of you being conceited or anything like that or arrogant. I don't consider myself arrogant at all, but I do feel like that the respect level, because of the process, it's important. And so make sure that, telling people to put some respect on your name.
Hello, doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And we know that it's a journey and that it is something that should not be taken lightly. I watched my mom this past December graduate with her PhD from Mississippi State, which was full circle for her to graduate from my alma mater. And we know at Mississippi State, they don't play no games.
Yeah.
They don't play games down there in their higher education program. They ain't playing games down there. And it was just so fulfilling to watch her complete this dream, because she has a journey that she has gone through too. And just 20 years in the making of being able to do this and going through the process of getting these things done. And it's just a blessing to be able to witness. And so, as we get ready to close, I want to do a couple of things. First, I want to know, what encouragement would you give to those who are looking to get their doctoral degree?
Yeah. Something that came to mind when I saw that question, it was an orientation for my doctoral program, which is set up for you to finish in 3 years. And one of the deans or professor was in there talking to us, and he said that you can be thinking about this program in 3 years, or you can be done in 3 years. And that's something that I share all the time to students who just started or interested. You can be thinking about it or you can be done. And I say that to also add that you can do it. I think a lot of people question whether or not they're smart enough. Are they smart enough or capable of doing it? You can do it, but the biggest thing that's going to hold you back is time. Like you're always going to doubt yourself, or you're always going to be questioned. If you want to do it, that means that God has put it on you to be able to do it. And instead of wondering whether or not you could do it or what the process will be like, just go ahead and jump in and do it, because then you're in the process and then you can get done a lot quicker. And instead of still thinking about it in 3-4 years, however long it takes you to finish, you can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would add to that, just knowing that I understand, like, it's big. It's something big, you know. The dissertation is a lot, you know, for people. Even just saying the word, you know, oh my God, dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say just know that, you know, each program has, you know, a plan for you, but you also have to have a plan for yourself. And that goes with just breaking things down. You know, you're not. How do you eat an elephant? It's
Piece
one
by
piece at a
piece.
piece at one piece at a time. And so just taking it, you know, piece by piece, paper by paper, you know, article by article. Because of course, if you just kind of think about it holistically, you'll overwhelm yourself. So I would say just know that you can do it. Like, you know, Dr. Harris said, it's important to know that you can do it and don't deviate from, you know, what people say, you know, how you feel in the moment. Know that God can bring you through it. So just know you just keep your faith, man. That's one thing that I had to do.
Yeah.
Just be faithful, you know, staying in the word, you know, all of those things. So yeah, consistency, persistency. It's important to know that, you know, just root yourself, you know, with what God has for what God is and who He is for you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank y'all, brothers, for that. And so the next thing I want to know is about your legacy. When you look back and you think about the way that your students will view you, and there could be somebody 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they're sitting on a podcast and they say, tell us about a Black man who influenced you. And they start talking about Dr. Harris and Dr. Banks. What is it that you want your legacy with your students to be when you look back on all of the work you've done?
So, man, that's a great question. I will say my passion is Black boys within K-12, because when we look at Black boys, and myself and Dr. Banks were talking about this before we got started, Black boys at the bottom of education as far as their graduation, retention, and just overall persistence within K-12, but also higher education. And so my research is on Black boys within K-12 and looking at what can we do as educators and family members to be able to improve their overall experience. And so I would like for my legacy to be something along the lines of improving the quality of education for Black boys, because I firmly believe that if we can improve the overall K-12 experience, if we can improve their overall K-12 experience, then we can improve their whole life trajectory, because it's definitely connected to their health, their wealth, their overall education, whatever their career goals that they decide to do post high school. And so I would definitely love for that to be my legacy, or something around that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it's just, you know, knowing that somebody really cared about me. You know, knowing that they know that I was that person that cared about them. And so I would encourage them to do the same thing, you know, go and care about somebody. Sometimes, you know, people, kids don't, even teachers, you know, they don't have people who really and truly care about them.
Mm-hmm.
And so my legacy is to know, for students to know that I really and truly, he cared. He cared about me. He cared about me as a person, not just as a student, not just as a number, but really and truly cared about my well-being, really and truly cared about where I was going, my life outside of high school, really and truly cared about my family, you know, and so on and so forth. So that's my legacy. I want to make sure that I impact by really and truly caring about people.
For sure.
That's good.
For sure. One of the things that I think when I think about my educational journey and teachers who have had impact on me, mentors who have had impact on me, what their legacy has given me, I give them their flowers, because I know that it took more than just my parents. My parents laid the foundation and they consistently built up on it. But there were times where other people leaned in too. And I think that it is just absolutely phenomenal to have a heart to do this work. And I always stand on a soapbox when people say teachers are not like how they used to be. There are a lot of amazing teachers and administrators and educators who care about these kids and who forsake themselves for these kids. And
Daily.
I witness it. And I think that it is amazing to stand in that position, to think about what their future and their trajectory is going to look like by your impact and by you being there and letting them know that. And so last thing, 60 seconds, look into that camera. If you could give or pour into anybody who's considering education or are currently in education with some wise words and sound doctrine and encouragement, what would that be? Give it to them really quickly.
Me first?
Yeah, you go first, bro.
So I tell this all the time. One, I just want to say our kids need us. And I know there's a lot of burnout within education. There's a lot of forest fires with the different education policies across the state of Texas, as well as across our nation. But our kids need us. And I tell educators all the time, remember why you came into education. And most of the time, we come into education to be that educator or to be that teacher that impacted our lives. And I just want to remind you to keep that in mind. In any event that you were a student and you did not have a positive educator in your life, I want to first apologize for that, because I firmly believe that every kid needs a champion. But I want to challenge you to be different. Be the educator that you wish that you had if you did not have that positive education experience. And surely if you had a positive educator that impacts you or educators that impact you, be that person and more on your campus, because our kids need us.
Wow, that was great. That was really great. I think you should go on commercial.
Commercial break.
Seriously. I would just echo that. I would say, make sure that you're the best that you can be. Our kids need great people. I know that it's not money tied to education as much. Hopefully we have people that are growing up to be policymakers to really change that.
Deserve.
But it's far beyond the coins that we get. It's really about the impact that we make. And so I would encourage, if you are an aspiring educator, I would encourage you to do it, because our students really need people, quality people who really and truly care about their success, who really and truly care about who they are and what they can become. And so I would encourage you to do it. Be the best that you can be. Like he said, like Dr. Harris said, it's important that we have people. So yes, go educators, please get out there and, be a teacher, because you not only are you changing the lives of students in that moment, but you're changing their lives forever. So
I just want to thank y'all for coming, joining me on the couch, and thank y'all for the work that y'all do. Nobody else has told you today, this week, this year. Thank you. The world needs you.
Thanks, bro.
We honor you here at Relentlessly Becoming. And it's just a blessing that I know you guys as friends and brothers, and even more of a blessing that I get to have a peek into all of the amazing work that you do. The world is inspired by what you plant and allow to grow in it. And I am grateful that I get to know you and witness it. Thank y'all for coming to join me today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is mine, brother.
All right. So, as y'all can see, education is still a field that people love, adore, and give the fullness of their hearts to. And I am most certainly thankful for all of the people, Black men, Black women, who have influenced my life and my educational journey. And while I don't get to work directly every day with students, I do make it my mission to pour back into the communities, just as I was poured into when I was coming up. When Nick and I were roommates, when we were orientation leaders, I watched this video and I used to say it every day. So I'm going to close with it. And I'm going to cite Shay Cole. She's from Greenwood. I saw this video and she said it, and it just got down in my spirit. So that's what I'm going to let close us today, Shay's words. And she said, and actually she said during the video, it was like her mom's retirement party from education, full circle. That's how good God is. But in the video, she said, give the world the best you got and they'll stab you in the back. But give the world the best you got anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives, but do good anyway. In the final analysis, it is never between you and people, but always between you and God anyway. Millions didn't make it. Oh, but let the record show that you were indeed one of the ones who did. Keep going and remember to be relentless. I will see you all on the next episode of Relentlessly Becoming. Peace out.